Slow Parenting program from wherever you are connecting to us from across the globe. We appreciate your interest on this program, and we welcome you once again, and then ask you to sit tight and look forward to a very exciting episode of the program today. If you're just joining us for the first time, and even for those who have been regulars, we are officially now into the season 3 of the Slow Parenting program. Season 1, we took insight and excerpts from 2 of my books on parenting. The first one for season 1 was The 7.5 Temptations Parents Face. The book is your comment concerning it in chats, on YouTube. And the second season, we took insights from my other book on parenting, which is a thought therapy, Key to Effective Parent-Child Communication. And today we are zooming out on, uncharted, because we are going to be spending the entire season 3 period on trending parenting issues, okay? And that means that you can actually tell us what you feel, what your concerns are, and then we'll look at having to bring them on the program to discuss, and then maybe to your social insights concerning them. So we're going to be focused entirely on season 3 on issues, real life issues, practical, not that what we've been talking about before now, we're not practical, but we're not going to be dealing with specific issues. Like today, we previewed it on as we close from the last episode that we're going to be talking about. Time went, obviously, maybe they've thought, oh, that was the best solution, nothing's going to happen, she's just going to go ahead with her life, and the child will grow up and go ahead with his life. My question was, really, did they, and my really, did they got answered, okay? Because over time, years passed, and the young woman got into a relationship with a young man. And they must have been deep into themselves so much so that they ended up having 2 babies, okay, within the period that they, started this relationship, and the period that they realized who their true identities are or were. It turns out that the young man with whom this young lady got into a relationship, and the young man who now fathered 2 children with this young lady, was her son. The same boy, okay, that she gave out for adoption. So how is that related to our question? How is that related to our headline, babies having babies? What's the relationship? If she weren't a baby that got to have a baby, position to take care of the child, the issue of giving out for adoption wouldn't have arisen in the first place. And all the other consequences that I'm sure that, like always, I'm not alone on this program. The other resource persons on this program, and you listeners, followers, subscribers that will leave your comments, send us messages, even after the program, we'll see and respond. You can chip in your own bits. They will say their bit on this program here. So that's our backdrop for today. I was punched up badly when I viewed. It was a video. I was punched up badly when I watched it, and without having to take anything out of anybody at this point, I've had so many comments. I've shared this with people. People have commented. And some people say, oh, it's a skit, just some prank. I said, look, all right, all right. I would even feel better that truly is some skit and some prank thing. I will feel better. Because where it's solving that problem? Where? It's if there's a word after incest, if there's another word, okay? The children, the young man, the woman. So from here, from our perspective as slow parenting, however that young woman got pregnant at that early age, whoever the blame might go to, we can say parenting failure. We don't know. We're not there. I don't know anything about the parents. Okay. But the point is this. If she didn't have a child, she was not ready to mother. Okay. That's the point here. If she didn't go ahead to have a child, she was not ready to mother, there wouldn't have been any giving out. She would have maybe gone on. We wouldn't have this story. But this story is here. Make no mistake about it. It's here, whether it's a skit or real, it is here. Your child fathered 2 children with you. I want to introduce Mrs. Yetunde Banjo at this point. She's here with us, and she's looking at me, looking at us, really, you know. Welcome, Mrs. Banjo. Your beautiful face, your nice smile,
Thank you,
smile. Whether it was a skit or real life, what's your take on the story to start with before we begin to look at anything?
As you were narrating the story, the book came to my mind.
Okay.
It's an old book. I don't know if people still read it, but it's called The Gods Are Not to Blame.
Oh, sure. Oh, wow. Oh, sure.
And it sounded so much like, some part of the story, in that book. And for me, just a few questions come to my mind. The woman would have had that baby, well, like you said, early teens, and probably between 13, 15 or 13, 16.
Mm.
And my first question was, when they started the relationship, did they not talk age? Did they not talk age? Because that's a huge gap. Somebody could be 3 years older. I mean, or on a day-to-day basis, or usually you would have the male partner being older in most relationships. But, let's talk about, 21st century relationships where nobody frowns at, the female being older. But so you talk about 3 years, 5 years, that's okay. But I'm talking about 13 to 16 years gap. Did they not talk about that at all? That is huge. Like if the guy is now old enough to have a relationship with this lady, I don't know how old he was. Let's say he was probably, let's just put it mildly and say he was 24. So this lady, the lady would be anywhere between, 30, 37. 37.
Okay, let's just say, okay, maybe the lady, for the sake of the figures now, let's say maybe the lady had that child at 13.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I'm saying.
Let's say
okay,
13.
At 13.
Okay, and let's say this young man now, if you watch the video,
yeah,
the young man was the boy, really. If you watch the video, the lady herself, some people looks can be deceptive. Okay,
that means somebody was lying to somebody in there. That's my thinking. Somebody was lying.
The age discussion thing might not have come up at all. It might actually not have come up.
I don't think so.
But then, well, sorry, I cut him. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, because for relationships, well, I'll talk from the experience of the people I know around me. It's one of the things that it definitely will come up within the first month, if not the first week. It will come up. How old are you? Maybe in this environment, when you go out and they're always asking for age for some reason or the other, or they ask you for ID. You never saw that? So there's a 13-year gap between you and someone, and you don't know that. I mean, for me, well, because that was the first question that jumped out at me. They never talked about that. She never had an occasion to tell him that I had a child before. You know, these are little things. Well, she may have told him and it didn't matter much to him. But, you know, even then, you know, by the time you start talking, how did they get to one of my other questions was like, how did they get to the point where she realized, how did things connect that she got to the point where she realized, oh, this is my son that I gave up for adoption? How, you know, because if they were, it's either that he was actively seeking his birth parent, his birth mother, or she was seeking her son she had given up for, you know, for that to come up. Otherwise, those things kind of like, you know, they lay dormant if nobody's actively seeking.
It could also be medical. It could also be medically related.
Okay, it could be medical. Yeah, you're right. It could be medically related. But
they could find out by accident, really.
Exactly.
Medically.
Well, for medical reasons, they could
yes.
find out. But for me, you know, it just throws up a lot of questions, right, about the relationship itself. And somewhere I'm thinking that, was somebody lying to somebody here? Were they upfront and totally truthful with with past events in their lives? Okay, so but you know, that's just on the face of it. So just, you know, I don't know if it was.
Thank you so very much. You are not alone. You know, in those thoughts patterns, you are not alone. But then, from the parenting point of view, you see, that's this whole thing. Did they not talk age and all of that is more like the general societal thing. But let's come back to slow parenting now. Okay. Let's come back to.
So now you want us to go back to the idea of parenting, like for the girl who had a child as a child.
Yeah.
Excuse me. These days, that seems to be, maybe it's where we are, but it seems to be pretty rampant.
What do we do?
Excuse me?
What needs to be done? Because we know it's rampant.
So that's what
this is a consequence. Why we picked up this? Is this a consequence of that parenting gap, or that child saying, "I must have my way. I'm old enough." Even at 30.
Let me finish, Dr. Richie. Stop jumping into my thoughts.
This has punched me up. Sorry.
Yes. So for what I have observed amongst the with the people that this has happened to, where you have kids, you know, birthing kids, is there is a case of absenteeism of parents. They're not really there. Not maybe due to no fault of their own. Maybe when you have a case of a single mother, you have a single mother who's trying to be a mother, who's trying to be a parent, and who's also trying to put food on the table. You find out that there'll be a lot more absences for that kind of parent. That parent will not be there all the time. Maybe she's gone to work. And you know, these children, they go to school. So between the time she gets back home from school and the time the parent gets back, there is a time like there's a gap. Who's filling that gap? Who's supervising? Who's watching? Because if the parent were on the ground, you see, the truth of the matter is that if there's no absenteeism, if you're an observant parent, you notice certain patterns, you notice certain things that your kids are doing that you can nip in the bud. But if you're not there, you're at work, you're working, maybe in the case of a single mother, or maybe in the case of parents who are just career driven, and all they're focusing on is the career. We need to do this. Because I've heard of stories, and this was a long time ago, I heard of a story of, when we were kids, when we were teenagers, of a young girl who got pregnant by the family driver.
There's a lot of that. A lot of that.
I mean, that was when we were kids. I mean, I was shocked to no end. That's because this driver was in charge of taking her to school, taking her to places. And lo and behold, you know, he started sleeping with the girl and she got pregnant by the family driver. So that shows that, you know, there was a gap. I have a friend who, I mean, she has a daughter, but she will never let her daughter stay in a room, a male person. She will not. When the daughter is doing, you know, after school lessons, this is in Nigeria, when the daughter was younger and they would be doing after school lessons, she'll sit there in the living room with them. They'll do the after school lessons. She is the one who takes if they, for any reason, she has to go, the daughter has to bend down. So you see that before such a thing can happen, I mean, I don't know, it has to be under extreme circumstances because she's
wouldn't that be a kind of helicopter parenting?
She said, I have only one daughter and I don't want anybody to spoil her life. That's her take. Well, that was, I mean, you have to consider your environment. You have to consider what's going on around you. And it might sound like helicopter parenting, but
I have a question for you too.
She's trying to keep her daughter safe.
I have a question for you too.
Yes.
What then happens?
Recording in progress.
Schooling away from home right now. She's schooling away from home right now, but you know, because she has established, she had established a good relationship with her mom, communication. When she got into a situation where when a guy was, you know, not still was able to know what to do, still was able to know what to do when she faced a situation that would have compromised her well-being.
Okay. Let's thank you. Professor Iwale, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on the program. Let's thank you. Professor Iwale, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on the program. Okay. And we're here talking about babies having babies. And our case study is about that young girl who had a baby boy that she gave away for adoption, and then later ended up in a relationship with him, and they had 2 children. Okay. Now, we're looking at, I don't want to be, I'm sorry, I'm getting too close to that, not being judgmental, you know, about parenting. I'm trying to say parenting gap. I'm trying not to say that, but then obviously, whether a single parent, because again, some of us were brought up by single parenting, you know, yeah, okay. Whether a single parent or, you know, the whole gang being together for all their lives, when things happen when they should not happen, there are consequences. Okay? I mean, whether the parents were there or they're not there, let's not lose sight of what this is about. Okay, whatever has led to her getting pregnant had happened. Okay, whatever, Professor Yawale, whatever had led to that young woman getting pregnant had happened. She's not pregnant. She now carried the pregnancy to term. Okay. Last episode, we were saying, well, when you are cautioning, of course, this is we're talking about money and resources and job last program. But then this is also part of what here, you don't hear. Okay, you now, okay, something that happens, whether you don't know how your body functions, you are not sure of, well, you got pregnant. And what some of the wise men and women said last episode was sometimes you leave the children to bear the consequences of their actions. Okay, fine. Okay. You're not going ahead, whether by accident or because you just didn't want to listen to anyone, you now went and got pregnant. Okay. You carried the baby, the pregnancy to term. You now had the baby. And then somebody came up with the wise idea, give this baby up for adoption. The other questions that grew from there for me were, when this baby was given up for adoption, there was no follow-up, no attempt to know where the baby was, to know over time, that could have now led to this incestuous, relationship. No matter how nicely we want to put it, no matter in what climate, no matter in what culture, okay? It's terrible. Now we're saying, okay, maybe didn't they discuss? It's not about discussing when they met. How many, really, seriously now? People these days, I want us to focus on that too. I want us to focus on some economic challenges that get people to get into, and a whole lot of other things. It was obvious he was in his early 20s. Late teens, early 20s. Okay? And they had 2 children within 2 years. Quick succession, 2 years from the narrative in the video. Now, from the parenting viewpoint, for me, I have looked at, was it that this child, the girl child now, was in a foster home? Okay. Was she in a program? Okay. Was she herself a product of adoption, the welfare system as well? Now, if that is the case, whose responsibility would it have been to keep a tab on the child and her own progression? Professor Wale, are you with us, sir? Professor Wale, are you with us? I can see you are online, but you are muted. You are not on camera. Oh, Ms. Banjoke, well, let's get back. Maybe is having some technical issues, as possible. Now, let's go back to the parenting gap issue. Okay. I feel bad for the entire, whether it's a skit or not, whether it's reality, it's not a pleasant story. Okay. Now, for the woman, the young man, and most importantly, for the offspring, for the children, who is going to want to, they will live in the closet for the rest of their life, most likely. Meaning they will never want anybody to know their story. But there's no way people will not, at any rate, they found out that they are mother and son. So the children too, at some point, whoever they get involved in whatever relationship, at least it's out there now in the open. People will keep tabs. Okay. The parenting gap. When this child now had this baby, was it right to say, okay, give her to adoption and then no links?
I think it depends on what they were trying to achieve, really. Like you would find here too, I mean, in this part of the world, in the West, people would give up their babies for adoption. And as far as they're concerned, They do not want any connection. They don't want any contact. They don't want anything to remind them of that part of their lives, right? They want to be able to move on. But then some people will give up for adoption, and they would, have an agreement with the adoptive parents saying that I want to be able to communicate with this child. I want to be able to visit this child. I want to be able to have a relationship with this child. So, so how it goes depends on the parties. I know of a story here, and the girl, young teen, had a baby, and the parents allowed her to have the baby, but already they had adoptive parents ready. So as the baby was born, they didn't allow her to touch the baby, see the baby, nothing, handed that baby over to the adoptive parents, and it was case closed. We don't want anything. So if that girl wanted anything, she would have to go, there would be records for those kind of things. So you could always go dig into the records to see where that child is and everything. And, but some people, their reasoning would be that it's better for all parties concerned, for the sanity of the adoptive parents, for the one who gave up the baby, the birth mother too, let them bond with that child and forge a new family and leave that one out of it, and so she can continue her life. So it depends on what they wanted at the time they were doing that. Maybe she wanted that. She didn't want to revisit that at any point in time.
But has it worked with what has happened?
Yeah, we're talking about what happened, right? Mm-hmm. So those are the two options they had. So now it's not working is because it happened the way it happened, right? It's just unfortunate, but people do give that up, and it's like a life, bygones are bygones, and everybody move on.
But could there be a reason now to rethink that bygone? Because some bygones are never bygone, like this one now. Could this be a reason? Because that's part of the reasons why I picked up this story. Okay, for us to revisit the narrative you've given, the two angles you have given, yes. When mistakes have been made, why wouldn't people now, in line with people, let people face the consequences of their action? Okay, now there's another consequence that's waiting down the road. This type now that we have. This might just be one.
I think this is my thought. Like the child giving up the baby would have been in agreement with her parents, her own parents, right? So they would have been in the know. I believe, or I feel that it was the duty of the parents to kind of keep tabs on the child. Try to see where's this child, who is the child with, be in touch, how are you, how's everything going on? And from time to time, even without the knowledge of their, so that, in future, if they know where the child is, or the child that was given up for adoption, if they know where he is per time, there is no chance of him crossing paths with his birth mother without their knowledge.
Or even other siblings from the family. Because this is an overdrawn, this is maybe, if you like, an oversized, coincidence or whatever. It could happen with other family siblings and all that. So
the birth, I think the girl's parents ought to have kept in. I'm not claiming this child back, but I want this child to know me.
One such child is a multi-Olympic gold medalist as we speak, and then it ended up being I think the grandparents. Like you're saying, being the grandparents who adopted herself and her sister, and other family member adopted another brother. And you see this whole thing, the humane angle. This issue of let me go on with my life, it makes us inhuman.
Exactly.
It makes us not take responsibility for our actions, because that's the first thing. You went and you got pregnant for whatever reasons. The trauma is there, yes, but this happened. This cannot, you can't wash it away. You can't wish it away. It happened. If you do not want some things to happen, there are steps that needed to have been taken ab initio to prevent that from happening, both from the viewpoint of the parents and the viewpoint of the young people involved. You see, in this whole scenario now, we are talking about the young woman who ended up with her son. What about the father? You see, while we're talking about the young woman did not get pregnant by herself. You know,
when we get pregnant by herself, it took
when we talk about adolescent health, adolescent reproductive health, people, most times the attention is focused on the girl child. No, somebody made the girl child pregnant. Our mothers, our fathers, our parents also need to let the boy children know that the same way that girl child's life is impacted by that occurrence, it also impacts the life of the boy child. Most times they walk away.
That's right.
Most times they walk away. It takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. We're going to go on a short break now, but next week this is going to lead us into some very interesting issue next week. Okay, which is why I'm bringing up the issue of the boy child thing. Okay, and I will be given a backdrop to that scenario, which we'll discuss, which will be our program for next week. These things are not happening on planet Mars. They're happening here. They're happening here. And we need to pay attention to them in order to have saner society. These two children that have been, that are offspring from this incestuous, they will hear that story. How would they feel for the rest of their lives? What kind of relationship are they going to have with other people? Okay? Who would they take the anger, the disappointment, who are they going to take them on? Who's going to bear the brunt? It's the general society. It's the general populace. It's the rest of us. Do you know who those children will become tomorrow? You know in which offices, in what positions they will be tomorrow? Some people get into some key positions in life and they're behaving in inhuman ways, inhumane ways. And we do not know why. Some people just seem to be at war with society. You'll be wondering, why would this person just not do the right thing? I'm not saying, you know, it's been situations like this. There are reasons why people just are deviant, just feel they don't owe society anything but blackness. Okay, we're going to take a short break now. When we come back, and we take it from there. Okay, please stay tuned. Thank you, friends and followers and family of the Slow Parenting program. You're welcome back from that short break. Yes, I was getting a little bit emotional with my contributions or my presentations on this issue, we have to take that short break. Now, of all the questions, of the many questions that we could raise that have been raised over this issue, all right, there are consequences for actions. Regardless of how we look at it, regardless of there are consequences for actions. The issue of I want to get on with my life, the time to get on with your life, young man, young woman, is at that your early stage in life, while focus on your education, go to school, finish high school, go to college, pursue a career, and then start a family properly. Some of us have those challenges. Not everybody survived it in the same ways. Okay? All the cases are not like this incestuous case now. There are other consequences that, babies having babies, especially when we say babies, we're talking about young people who are not in a position to take care of the babies they are about having, or they've had, or they're going to have, or planning to have, or didn't even plan to have. Because in most cases, such situations are not planned. Okay? It could be rape, it could be some two young people just not really knowing the consequences of intercourse, and then one gets pregnant, the other one continues with his life, in quote, continues with his life. It's not true. I know. Well, that's not part of this program, but I know you don't continue with your life. There are consequences. There are things you face as you move on in life. It never leaves you. It's a badge you wear. It's it's a cross to bear for the rest of your life. So the issue of having to give such babies away and say, okay, so I don't want to remember that part of my life, personally, I think it's immoral. It's inhuman. That child has not committed anything. That child needs care, needs attention, needs parental love. If the biological mother or father are not in positions to, the extended family, the grandparents, but the issue of now putting babies in giving up to adoption, welfare, which is what seems to be the in thing in the Western world, in the northern part of the world here, Canada, wherever in the northern part of the world, there are consequences. This story is one of such consequences. This story of this young woman who got to have a baby at a very early teenage point in her life, and then most likely would be, okay, I don't want to see this child anymore, ever, not even anymore, ever. I don't want to have anything to do with this child. Maybe the parents even agreed with her. Maybe the welfare, team, that in case the child was in the program and that happened, that's okay, give the child out for adoption. They didn't want. Did anybody think that could be possible? So even if we're going to give out for adoption, even if there are no other options, there's always an option, yes. But even if we come to that conclusion, or there's no other option, can we also then agree to monitor, to follow up, so that we do not have this kind of scenarios playing out? This is just one that has come out to play in the open. How many never, get hurt by the general population? How many of this kind of cases never make it to the media? How many? How many people are bold enough to come out openly and narrate this kind of stories for, the rest of us to get to hear, see, and then take heed? How many? There are, for that one lady, one woman, and one young man that this happened to, there could probably be hundreds that don't get talked about and then melt into the general population, and there are consequences. It goes on and on and on. Okay. Mrs. Banjo, if you are with us, I wouldn't know why we're having issues with having Professor Yowale join us. He's here on the program, but then he doesn't seem to hear me. He's on mute. Professor Yowale, are you with us, please? Hello, Professor Yowale. Are you with us? Okay, let me come back to Mrs. Banjo. Mrs. Banjo, are you back with us now? Anyway, all right. It seems everybody is it seems the other team members are having one technical issue or the other. You know, so right now, what for me, first things first, young man, young woman, don't point fingers and say, well, you, what about you? Well, what about my friend? No, you. Possible for your children to, you know, to trust you, to show you who their friends are, male or female. Yeah. Make it possible for that to happen. Don't make it a secret society, you know. No, wow. No. Open up. Getting into a relationship is part of life. You can't write it off. No, you cannot. Whether you are a helicopter parent or turbojet parent, you cannot shield your children for life from getting into relationships. There are risks that children must take. They must take. There are certain risks they must take and learn from the risks. So you need to define what those risks are. That, well, okay. And then you define the ones that I say this one, well, in case you don't know, you see this route, you have bought the bus ticket that you are on now. I know the last bus stop. As a matter of fact, I don't only know the last bus stop, I know the bus stops in between. Okay, so if you made it your duty, if you made it a point that you take me into confidence or have a discussion with me, I will tell you, okay, you bought this ticket, you really want to go on this trip, all right, fine. But then please don't wait to get to the last bus stop before you get up. When you get to XYZ bus stop, please tell the driver to stop so you can come down. It's just a figure of speech, but that's life. Life is a journey. We as parents will have experiences, but most of us behave as if we were born grown. We never grew up. We just dropped from Mars. Experiences. No, you're not helping your child. Be truthful. Tell them that unpleasant experience. Maybe that might be what will save that child. Unfortunately, we don't know anything about this young woman or her family. Unfortunately, we just have this story in the middle. So it's not full. So we can just be taking it from the top. But you, dear parent, listening to us, watching this program, at whatever time you come across this program, what kind of relationship are you having with your adolescent children, male or female? Your male children are not immune to getting pregnant. Boys too get pregnant, yes. They might not carry the pregnancy in their bellies, but they will carry the marks of those pregnancies in their life for their entire life. It ruins some people. I have such marks. Okay? And you don't want to know some of the consequences of so let them know. Oh, I go again. You bought that ticket. Okay. I said, don't buy. You bought. Okay, fine. You've bought it. Fine. You're actually inside the bus. Please, Tell the driver you're going down at so bus stop. Don't wait to get to the last one. Okay? Don't wait till you get to the last one. So, Mrs. Banjo, it's not pleasant, but it happens. It has happened, this one. First, two things. A young teenage girl gets pregnant. It happens. You've shared some stories. Mother's okay, you can't touch. You just, okay, you have that baby. Maybe you want to have baby. Go ahead, have the baby. But, well, for us to help you, you will never have anything to do with that child. What is the offense of the child? To start with, that child, what's the offense? The baby that got born, the pregnancy that became a baby. What's the offense of that baby? To serve the punishment of will not have family, will not have that bonding, will not have it's strangers from day one.
Well, I guess, well, if you're looking at it from maybe a cultural perspective, it may be that way. But here, some kids are probably better off with the adoptive parents. Maybe in case they're given to a couple who really want a child. They really, really want a child, and they've tried, nothing coming up, and they are able to adopt from birth. And you see, one thing about babies is that I think there's a Yoruba proverb that says that it's the one who plays with the child that the child knows, right? So the one who has been mother. So yes, there's a birth mother, but the one who has actually nurtured and cared and raised that child is also the mother, is actually the mother. Because where I come from, they say that the person who will not let you die is greater than the person who gave you, who birthed you. So that one who has nurtured, who has cared, who has mothered that child, has raised that child up to, that one too has become family. So they've not been denied. Who knows? Maybe if he was left in that other family, how would the child be treated? May have been treated badly. I know kids who were, born under those circumstances, and they were treated badly. The mother was treated badly in the family, called names, look at you, useless girl, see what you're, and then the child from that incident too was treated just as bad. So in some cases, then ended up bringing a child home, but she told them from the get-go, whatever happens, so if anything goes wrong, if anything goes wrong, just come, let me know. Don't worry about. Just come, let me know. Don't worry about it. A child is a blessing. You are the one.
That's a result of that open communication we've keep, advising, advocating for on this program. Yeah. You have those kind of communication with your children. That openness, they won't want to betray it. They won't want to. I don't want to use the word offend. They won't want to break that relationship by disappointing you, their mother, you, their father, because you have, and then parents also. Let's stop codifying, reproductive health challenges or issues. If you do this, this is going to be the outcome. Okay? If you now make up your mind, you are going this is still the boss.
Well, something, I want
going this is still the boss.
Something, I want to say something, Dr. James, of issues. It's not always that a child, you have a case where a child is blatantly rebellious, as can't talk to me, I'll do what I want to do. But there's some children, it's not because they're like that. It's just that they get carried away with their emotions. They meet a young boy meets young girl, and one thing leads to another. It's not like that one goes all out to say that I am going to do the wrong thing, but it just happens. It just happens, and then they just fall into that. So it's not because this child went all out and says, my parents, I'll do whatever anything you say I shouldn't do. That's what I'm going to do. But it just happens. Adolescents, when they're they're just getting used to the hormones, their feelings, and everything, and it's and one thing leads to the other, and then you have this situation where they've slept together. And girl, because a lot of people, even today, they think that, before I can get pregnant, maybe we should have done it like 3 or 4 times.
Exactly.
But
Exactly. They have no understanding of how conception happens.
happens.
They don't have that understanding. Yeah.
Well, they've done biology class, but other people, you see,
even in the biology class, they see it's academic.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. They've done biology class. They know what it's like. They know the process and all that. But the reality of it, because they swap stories with their peers, right? And maybe a peer says that, well, I've done it this number of times and nothing has happened.
And nothing happened.
So they think,
but not knowing that you are not that person.
You are different, right?
The circumstances and the situation might not be the same.
So
most importantly, your parents did not name you everybody.
Oh, even if they named you everybody,
they don't name you everybody.
Everybody.
You have a name.
Everybody is still different. So
everybody is doing it. Is your name everybody? That's the whole issue of that. Your parents
you come and you say,
Janelle
told
the adolescent.
Janelle
I was laughing. I was laughing when you were saying, adolescent, it happens, emotions. Why I was laughing was this. You just nicely led us into our program for next week. Okay? Okay. You've not nicely, again, this week we're saying, didn't they talk age? Didn't they know? Didn't that discussion? Now, our case study for next week. Okay? It's a young man, 16 years old, who obviously had a good communication relationship with his mother, and now sends the mother a message. This young man had just finished high school, just finished writing the last high school exams a month ago, maybe, okay? A month ago. Just finished high school. And now says to the mother, I don't hide anything from you, Mom. I want to tell you something I really want to tell you. I met this girl, she's really, I want to be with her for eternity, as if he knows what eternity means at 16, okay? And that's not the whole story. This young woman that this 16-year-old wants to be with, the center of his life for eternity, is already in the university. And also, according to him, according to the story, actually said, yes, I will date you. A high school, the other time you were saying, didn't they discuss age? Didn't they know her? I'm not sure. It's possible that the person who is already in college, in the university, it's possible she's also 16. It's possible. I don't know. But might not be. Okay? But the point is, there's already inordinate ambition in play here. Yeah? You have not passed. Let's not start discussing the topic here. We're just saying this is what we're going to do next week. Now, good thing, you've told the mother we can establish she has a good relationship. The mother, asked necessary questions. How old is she? What's she doing? Does she know your level? All of those questions were answered. Okay? So next week, we're going to look at this young man who, according to Mrs. Banjona, emotions have taken over, adolescence is taking over, and then you are not focusing on the right things that you should focus. What should be the role of the mother in that scenario? What should be the focus or the role of the young man? What should be the role or the focus of the young woman who is the center of attraction in this whole picture? Okay? Because, like has been established even on this program, most times, young people don't really know the consequences, the true consequences of their reproductive health and escapades. Let me put it that way. Okay? They don't have the picture. They don't have that mental picture that this is the last bus stop that this could lead us to. All right? So why not discussing it this week? That's going to be our program for next week. But for this week, you've heard us. You've heard this very touchy, this very unfortunate story. Whether it's true, whether it's a skit, it's not funny. We know rape happens. When I say accidents, okay? That becomes an entirely issue. An entirely different issue. Okay? Yeah. But your child that you are shielding to that female child. The question I asked in 7.5 Temptation, when we talk about, but he's a boy now, is our mothers are the ones who would ask the boy, don't you have your friends you go to and play with? They're the ones who would tell the girl, where are you going? Stay here. No. Those girls that your son are going to play with is going to play with outside. It's not some mother that gave back to them. We understand this. So we need to talk with both our male and female children about the consequences of irresponsible sexual behavior. The case we have dealt with today might be an extreme one. Right? But then it can't get more extreme than having a baby at a teenage year. And then you cannot afford, for whatever reason, to mother that baby. It's extreme enough. That is extreme enough. Forget whatever then happened to this particular couple now, down the road, that a mother is having children from her son that she gave away adoption. Now, outside of mothers give you, now if you must now say, let us mitigate the impact of this unfortunate action. It might be rape, it might be some other things. Let's give this child away to adoption. It's legally acceptable, but is it humane? If you must do that, should you not keep a tab on the welfare of that child as parents of the young mother, even if the young mother herself is being shielded from the trauma of having a baby while a baby? We can understand that. But should we not keep a tab? If it is within the welfare system that happened, the welfare system, should we not also put things in such a place that their paths will not cross, whether the mother and the child actually, or even other siblings from the same family? As I want to round this up, several years ago, I wrote a play. I had a situation in my own life that was like, I lived in the nightmare of that. I didn't know the actual outcome. As at the time I was writing this play. I wrote that play and I titled it Sow the Wind and Reap the Wild Wind. Okay? And that play was about a young mother a young girl who got pregnant, and then the boy's family didn't take responsibility, nothing, and then they sent the boy away, sent the boy out of the country to go study in another country. Okay? And then these two people went on with their lives, as we were in quotes. This one married, the boy married, finished school, married. The young woman also went on, took care of the child. And the son of the boy returned to the country, of course, became, relationships and all of that, ended up in a relationship with the daughter of the girl. Everybody was happy. Oh, these children, well, there was nobody knows nobody. And it was not until the parents had to meet to discuss, courtship, traditional weddings, and then the father returned to the country, now had to go to the home of the would-be bride for the son, and somebody comes out of the car and says, excuse me, who are you? They recognize themselves. What's going on here? Unfortunately, the two young people in Yoruba tradition is not a taboo for people to get pregnant before they marry. Abi, in some families, they actually encourage it. Unfortunately, the girl was already pregnant for the half brother. Okay? It was a story. I wrote it. But it was out of an experience I had.
It's a Nollywood. It's Nollywood.
Welcome, Professor Yowale. We've been out looking out for you all day.
We've been looking at your name since. No comments.
Story.
They told you to talk. You didn't talk until I saw your message. You said you're finding it hard to join.
I couldn't hear anything now. I don't know what's wrong.
Okay, you're welcome. You can hear us now. So
with my 5 minutes or 25 minutes, okay. I can have that.
Okay, you're welcome. So maybe the bits that you heard, what will be your comment or your contribution concerning the young woman who ended up having babies for the son? Hello, Prof. I think we're still having that technical challenge. Hello, Prof.
No. He's out
I
again.
think he's even gone now. Now it was a story.
I think we should round up now.
We are. That's why I said I'm telling this story to round up. We behave as if things don't happen around us. We don't have our own experiences. Parents, please, you are in prime positions to be the sexuality educators of your children. Play that role. Play that role sometimes to the... Have you ever asked why some grandparents take over? Or if we follow up with Mrs. Banjo's earlier example about the friend who said, look, come, even if, don't worry, if everything, bring them, I will carry. All right? If we now couldn't prevent it from happening, could we try the other, formula of saying, okay, go on to school, I will take care of this baby. It might not be, it's not the best. It's not anything anybody plans for. But then an incident that happened, the baby has no crime for coming into the world. It didn't plan, it didn't apply to come in that way. Shouldn't be made to bear the consequences of what it didn't have a hand in. This young man now, whether they discussed the age or didn't discuss the age, obviously believed he was in a relationship, whether he knew the age of the woman or didn't know the age. They probably were happy. If they were not happy with themselves, they will not have two babies. Without this maybe discovery that they're actually mother and son, it's probably a happy home. Okay? But can we now play our parenting roles to the fullest to ensure that there are no incestuous, offsprings in the society going forward? Because There are so many things that are wrong in the general society, and we do not know the reason why some people behave certain ways to the rest of humanity. They could be fighting for a reason they are not bold enough to share. So with that, Professor Wale, do you want to give us a parting comment since you're back now?
Well, it's a pleasure being here. I hope that next week I'll be able to give any parting shot. I cannot. I didn't hear what we have discussed. So let give the parting shot. She has been here.
You have to pass now. You just came in. You know the story now, where you were commenting on it being Nollywood the other time.
Oh no, he was just telling Nollywood story. That's why I said that one Nollywood.
Okay, so Ms. Banjo, what would be your summary for this issue?
My goodness. Well, what would be my so like I said in the beginning, I find that story a little extreme, but all the same, it still boils down to the fact that there are babies having babies these days. There are babies having babies, and when those babies are born, what happens? What happens when the babies are born? What do you do? What do you do because you probably want to, a lot of parents who want the child to give away their child, they're probably trying to, shield that child somehow. They're trying to shield that child, maybe from the trauma, or if we go back to where we come from, maybe the kind of disgrace, that's attached to, having a child, because teenage prior pregnancies are not that welcome in our society, even though they happen. So there's some level of shame, that's attached to that. Whatever be the case, when babies are born like that, I think it's a duty of the parent. If they're giving out the child, if they're giving up the child for adoption, the parents should maintain contact. So even though it may be this kind of extreme case, but it could be a case of the child maybe meeting with his half-sister. It may be meeting with the half-sister sometime in future, and then they start a relationship. But, if they are in touch, just not for any reason, even if you don't want to, if you want, for humane reasons, for that shared humanity, to be able to say, okay, this is a child I birthed, whether I have a relationship with that child or no, it's not very important, but, this is a human being. And this person is deserving of love as well. So, at least be aware. Let them be aware. Let the child be aware of who the parents are. And you parents should be aware of where the child is. So it helps everybody in general. So for you to think that, oh, it's a pasta thrown into the Atlantic Ocean that will never come up. No, it doesn't always happen smoothly like that.
Thank you so very much, everybody.
Okay, all right. That's what we are discussing. All right.
Okay. You want
to?
Okay,
is that video that you put there?
That's the top. That's our discussion.
The lady that had an affair with his son.
Her son,
okay.
Yes.
That her son. That that was all right. I mean, I saw another one. I thought that's the one we are discussing. The 17-year-old.
No. That's for next week. That was
the one I saw. So my brain cannot reset at all. I was already.
It's okay. It's all right, sir. I mean, it's all right. It's all right. So
I will save my comment on that. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. We are saving the 16-year-old dating high school student, fresh high school graduate. Well, has he even graduated? He just wrote the exam. We don't know if he will pass.
He just wrote the exam.
He just wrote the exam, and then with seeking to date or even already dating somebody in the first year in college, in the university. There are a lot of things that are issues with that. So we will not. It's for our discussion for next week. and then we will take on that. We've had it all, their family of slow parenting, that things happen. When they happen, some people will say it's not the end of the world, okay? But lives are involved. Once life is involved, once lives are involved, we should not throw our humanity, into the ocean, okay? It's not even just because of what if they meet? What if, that child needs love, even if it is to shield this. The young woman you're also shielding, he should understand consequences. Except if he was out of an issue of rape, for instance. Okay? If it was not rape, if it was not a rape issue, you got pregnant, you carried the baby, you would take care of the baby. That young woman, when we said last week people should bear responsibility for their action, that's part of it. No, there's nothing you are shielding that young woman that went into a relationship and got pregnant. There's a difference. If it's for medical reasons, that okay, it's rape, is different. Okay? But if the child you've been counseling, you've been, bringing up to say, please focus on your future, and went into a relationship and got, let that child carry that pregnancy to time. Let it have the baby. Let her mother, because the 1 year or so you spend taking care of that baby, she would learn certain life lessons. Even if she now has to go back to school, let her build that bond. If that bond is built, even if that child will still end up being given out to, something would have developed. Something would have developed that would now make it impossible, almost impossible, if not completely impossible, for us to be having the kind of scenario that had brought us to discuss this on this program. Okay? So that is our show for today. That's our show for today. Don't forget, next week, Wednesday, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada. Okay? And 7 p.m. West African time, including Nigeria. This is back on YouTube, on Instagram, on Nostalgia Media. Join us, please. But don't forget to go to any of our social media handles, leave your comments there. You can always interact with us, even when we are not on stream. Okay, we will get back to you, your comments, your questions, your concerns, we'll respond to them. If you are battling with any particular issue in parenting that you want help with, don't hesitate. Reach out. We will discuss them here. And then we will give our own insights. And the ones we can't do anything about, knowledgeable people, parents, experientially, who can share with you, say, walk this road. We've gone on it. We know about it. So thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure and honor to have you with us today. And we look forward to having you join us next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Be blessed. Bye.
Bye, Dr. Yewale.
Slow parenting is simplicity parenting. Simplicity parenting.
We want to discourage a particular behavior, right? We want to deter that behavior from occurring in the future. And so we apply.
So we are talking about accountability. We also remember that your children want to be you. They're not talking about that person that's out.
Exceptions to every rule, and no matter the best or the most noble of mirroring that we do modeling, sometimes they veer off. I know that there are exceptions.
Focus on quality time rather than the other type of parenting where you wake up